Hi, it's Paris from Epic Reviews, and Austin, you're joining the big league. You're going to get a new area code, 737. That'll be in addition to the 512, not just for Austin, but for this whole section of Central Texas. Wherever it's 512 now, there's going to be 737 added to that same area starting next year. And the changes are actually going to start this December 1st. As of December 1st this year, 2012, the Public Utility Commission and the phone companies, cell phone companies, the landline companies, they want you to start dialing 10-digit phone numbers. So at first we're just going to have the 512s, and everybody's going to have a 512, so it seems redundant to have to dial it. But that's what they want you to do starting December 1st. If you dial a 512 in front of the number now and it's a local call, a lot of times you'll hear that message about you are not required to dial the 512, and so please try again. Well, that won't happen anymore. However, if you do forget to dial it as of December 1st and you just dial the 7-digit number, it still will go through for a while. It'll be, let's see, June 1st of next year, 2013. That's when they're going to enforce you have to dial the full 10 digits of the phone number. If you don't, if you leave off the 512, just dial the 7 digits, then you're going to start hearing a message saying your call cannot be completed because you have not dialed a sufficient number of numbers. And a month later, July 1st, that's when they're actually going to start distributing the 737 area code numbers. That's before we're expected to run out of 512 numbers, which is late in 2013. So as of July 1st, 2013, some people who get new phone service, new cell phone service, new business line, fax line, anything you need a number from the phone company, you'll start getting 737 and then the 7 digits. Now after a while, the 512 numbers, people move away, businesses close, some numbers will sort of come back on the market, and you can expect at that point there will be, if you went and got a new phone, that you might get a 512 area code, you might get a 737 area code with your number. But from here on out, we're going to have to dial all 10 digits. I went through this when I lived in Tokyo in, must have been like 1991, 1992. Tokyo, a big city, 10 million people or more, ran out of phone numbers. And this was before hardly anyone had cell phones. It was way early for that. So this was just the number of phone lines had gotten to the point where they had to put in a second area code, and you started having to dial a full 10 digits to make any calls. And let's see, I was in Seattle after that, and I don't remember exactly when I was in Seattle, probably 1995, 1996, that Seattle reached that point. The population got so big, this was when dial-up internet, if you remember those days with AOL, was so popular, a lot of people were getting second lines so they could have their dial-up on one line and then they could have their other line for voice calls. Anyway, there was a lot of increased demand for phone numbers, and Seattle, they did it a little different way. Western Washington used to all be area code 206 and Eastern Washington was 509. So what they did is they basically took the 206 and they shrunk it down so it was just in Seattle, in the core of Seattle, there were still all 206 numbers. Anywhere outside of that, they went to a different area code. I think it's 360. So that was a little different approach than what they're doing here. And if you are a Seinfeld fan, you probably remember when Elaine ended up having to get a new phone number, and she got the dreaded other area code instead of the one for real New Yorkers. For people who actually lived in New York, she got the one for the suburban folks, and so she was shamed by that. People wouldn't date her or anything because they assumed she must live so far away from her by having that phone number. Anyway, Austin's finally grown up, and so now it's time to learn to dial 10 digits every time you make any kind of call. And in addition to having to remember to dial the 10 numbers every time you make a call, and then eventually remembering whether someone's got a 512 or a 737, you will have to reprogram all of your devices that have stored numbers in them. So off the top of your head you might think, well, a fax machine, a lot of people don't have fax machines anymore. Actually, it goes way beyond that if you think about it. Anything that dials out from your house may need to be reprogrammed, and of course all of your address book, if you have a cell phone and you have the numbers all programmed in there as 7-digit numbers, you're going to have to go in and do that work. But the life alert systems, you know, the people with the little thing, the older people, and the red button, and you push it and someone talks to you and help, I've fallen and I can't get up. depending on the number that calls, you may have to reprogram that. Yes, the fax machines, internet dial-up, that's probably not going to be an issue for most people anymore. Alarm and security systems, gate codes, and if you live in an apartment, that some of them now, the big panel, when someone pushes your apartment number, instead of buzzing up in your apartment, it actually calls a number. If that wasn't programmed with 10 digits, and it likely wasn't, then that's going to have to be reprogrammed. Also, call forwarding. If you set that up, whether in your home phone or cell phone, you want the number during the day to bounce to the other phone. Did you do it with all 10 digits? If not, there's some more programming for you. So it's sort of a geographically limited Y2K thing we're coming up with here, and absolute final date for your calls being able to go through without being dialed as a 10-digit number. And you have until June 1st, 2013 to have made those changes. If you or any of your devices don't dial a full 10 digits after that date, the call will not go through. So check out what's in your house and give it some thought in advance so you don't have a nasty surprise come June 1st, 2013.